Across the world, harvest season is a time to celebrate. Fields that once stood green and heavy with grain are finally ready to be gathered. Communities come together to reap what months of work have produced. But in many traditions, the harvest was never just about labor. It was also about respect. Respect for the land. Respect for the spirits believed to watch over it. In the Philippines, an archipelago rich with folklore, myth, and ancestral belief, the rice harvest was once surrounded by a careful web of customs and warnings. Farmers worked their fields knowing they were not alone, because hidden among the stalks of rice, there were spirits. Some watched over the crops, and others made sure that anyone who disrespected the land would pay for it. There were spirits that spoiled the harvest, spirits that devoured stored grain, spirits that punished noisy children and careless farmers. And during harvest season, those spirits were believed to be at their most dangerous. Tonight, Witches and Wanderers, we explore a collection of lesser-known beings from Filipino mythology, the spirits who harm the harvest. Welcome back, Witches and Wanderers, to the Morbid Witch Podcast, where we explore myths, folklore, and the strange legends that linger in the shadows of cultures around the world. Each episode, we step into stories of ancient gods, wandering spirits, and forgotten beings whose legends shaped the beliefs of the people who told them. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, it's always good to have you back. To all my witches and wanderers, thank you for being here. Before we step into tonight's story, just a quick reminder. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment, letting me know what myths or legends you'd like to hear in future episodes. And if you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to leave a rating for the podcast. It helps more witches and wanderers find their way here. You can also listen on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and now Pandora. So wherever you prefer to explore the strange and mysterious, the stories are waiting. Now, let's walk into the rice fields of Philippine folklore. Rice has always been one of the most important crops in the Philippines. For centuries, communities relied on rice not just as food, but as the foundation of daily life. Because of this importance, the harvest season was treated with great care. Farmers followed traditions meant to ensure a successful harvest, and to avoid angering the unseen beings believed to dwell among the crops. In many rural beliefs, the rice fields were not empty land. They were living places where spirits could linger. Some of those spirits protected the harvest, but others were far less friendly. These were the spirits blamed when the harvest failed, when rice disappeared, or when strange misfortune struck those working the fields. And among these spirits were several whose names carried a quiet warning. One of these beings was known as Alupundun. Unlike many spirits that attacked crops directly, Alupundun targeted the farmers themselves. According to folklore, anyone working the harvest might suddenly feel an aching pain spreading through their toes. At first it would seem minor, just a small soreness from standing and walking through muddy fields. But the pain would grow. Soon the toes would swell painfully, making it difficult, or even impossible, for a person to continue reaping the rice. This strange affliction was attributed to Alupundun. The spirit did not destroy the crops itself. Instead, it weakened the people responsible for gathering them. By disabling the reapers, the harvest slowed and the rice remained vulnerable. Another figure connected to harvest misfortune was Arurin. Unlike many spirits of folklore, Arurin was not simply a wandering entity. She was regarded as a deity tied directly to the success or failure of the harvest. Farmers believed that Arurin expected offerings from the crops they gathered. A share of the harvest had to be set aside in recognition of her role in allowing the rice to grow. If the farmers failed to offer her portion, Arurin would ensure that the harvest turned poor. Crops might rot unexpectedly, yields could shrink, and months of labor might produce far less than expected. In this way, Arurin served as a reminder that prosperity required gratitude. Without respect for the unseen forces believed to influence nature, the harvest could quickly turn against those who depended on it. Not all harvest spirits punished farmers. Some targeted the careless behavior of children. One such figure was Dagdagamiyan. Dagdagamiyan was described as a female spirit who punished children who played in places where harvesting was taking place. In agricultural communities, harvest areas were often treated with seriousness. Rice fields and storage areas represented survival. Children running through the fields could damage crops or disturb important work. Dagdagamiyan's legend served as a warning. If children played recklessly in harvest spaces, the spirit might cause them to fall ill. The sickness she inflicted reminded families that certain places were not meant for play. Even the youngest members of the community were expected to respect the labor that sustained everyone. Before we continue exploring the darker spirits of the harvest fields, I want to pause for just a moment. To all my witches and wanderers listening tonight, thank you for being here. Whether you're listening late at night, driving somewhere quiet, or just enjoying a strange story before bed, it means a lot that you're spending this time with the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening on Spotify, leaving a rating for the podcast really helps more witches and wanderers discover the show. You can also find the Morbid Witch Podcast on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and now Pandora. Now, let's return to the rice fields. One of the more troublesome harvest spirits was Daru Pepe. Rather than harming people directly, Daru Pepe targeted the crops themselves. After rice was harvested, farmers often stored the grain temporarily in huts before transferring it to a permanent granary. This stage of storage was believed to be when Daru Pepe was most active. The spirit was said to devour the pele, the harvested rice grains, before they could be safely stored. Farmers who discovered that their stored grain had mysteriously dwindled might blame Daru Pepe for the loss. In a time when every grain mattered, the idea of a spirit consuming the harvest added another layer of caution to the storage process. Another spirit associated with dwindling rice stores was Jinu Udan. Unlike the Ru Pepe, who devoured the grain outright, Jinu Udan was believed to measure the containers of harvested rice. As the spirit moved from container to container, something strange would happen. The rice would begin to diminish. A full basket might suddenly appear less full. A storage jar might seem lighter than it should be. This quiet disappearance of grain was attributed to Jinu Udan's unseen presence. In folklore, the spirit served as a warning about greed, waste, and carelessness with stored food. Among the spirits tied to household behavior was Soldado. This being was described as resembling a horse. But despite its unusual form, Soldado was feared not for destroying crops, but for punishing children. According to belief, Soldado would attack children who played noisily outside the house, particularly at night. In many traditional households, nighttime was meant for quiet and rest. Children wandering outside after dark were considered vulnerable, not just to accidents, but to supernatural dangers. The legend of Soldado reinforced the importance of obedience and safety within the home. Perhaps the most dangerous spirit connected to the harvest season was Taragay. Unlike the others, Taragay was believed to kill people during harvest time. Because of this threat, communities performed a ritual known as Inapugan. The purpose of the ritual was to appease the spirit. Offerings were made to ensure that Taragay would remain calm and would not take anyone's life during the harvest. This practice reflects a deeper belief found in many agricultural traditions. When humans take from the land, they must also give something in return. Without balance, disaster might follow. The spirits of the harvest remind us of something ancient about human belief. For thousands of years, farming was never just a matter of planting and gathering food. It was a relationship, a delicate balance between people, nature, and the unseen world. The spirits of Filipino folklore, whether punishing noisy children, devouring rice, or spoiling the harvest, served as guardians of that balance. Their stories taught respect for food, respect for labor, and respect for the land itself. Even today, echoes of these beliefs remain in traditions and stories passed down through generations. But when the wind moves through the rice fields, some people still wonder what might be moving with it. Thank you for listening to the Morbid Witch Podcast. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, make sure you're following the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and now Pandora, so you never miss a story. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. And if you're listening on Spotify, please take a moment to leave a rating for the show. It helps more witches and wanderers find their way here. Until next time, stay strange, stay spooky, and remember, the shadows are always watching.